Welcome to Grace Over Grit and Growth podcast, the podcast where we're celebrating women's journeys and empowering each other to thrive in our personal lives, careers, and business. We're two women passionate about connecting with and inspiring others in our community. So join us, follow us, and like us on Facebook, Instagram, and on our YouTube channel, Grace Over Grit and Growth.
We're here.
We are here.
Yay, episode 1.
Yes, we are who we are. So that's how we're going to kick it off. So welcome, everyone. We want to tell you a little bit about who we are and what prompted us to start this podcast journey. You want to start from where?
So I will start. My name is Monique Fisher, and I am co-founder of Mosaic Realty right here in Bolingbrook, along with
Aleita Anderson. So I'm also co-founder of Mosaic Realty. Imagine that. But even before we were actually here, our paths have crossed. What's been six years ago?
Right.
Okay.
So we worked at Keller Williams, and I had been asking. I have a passion for first-time home buyers, so I have been asking around. Does anybody know? Have a seminar or anything on how to get in touch with first-time home buyers? And of course, people was like, no, not really, no, I was like, okay. And I finally met somebody that said, well, talk to Aleita Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
She knows. I said, okay. So you were in the office one day, we connected. I asked you, before we finished our conversation, she was like, what's your email? She emailed it right over to me, and that was it. She said, use it as is. If you want, just swap out the pictures or however you want to do it, but this is yours.
Mm-hmm.
And so I truly did appreciate how gracious and genuine you were in saying, here, I did it, but you take it and make it work for you.
Yep, because I was you a year ago. A year prior to that, I was like, hey, I want to do a home buyer seminar. I have people that are asking. Everybody wants to know, how do I buy a house? What do I need to do? Who do I talk to first? So I said, it would be great to have an event and just talk to everybody all at once. I asked around similar to what you were doing, figure it out. If anybody had anything, they didn't share it. So I created my own, and I didn't want you to have to go through that same pain. And to this day, it's still part of my business. I do it once a quarter. I got one coming up actually next month. In March.
Yep, first week of March.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, sharing is caring, because there's no reason to reinvent the wheel. That's not something that I do. I feel like, I don't deal in lack.
Yes.
So I feel like there's enough for everybody. So I have no problem sharing it, because the people that like you might not like me.
Right. And so we don't necessarily know the same people.
Right.
So
your clients are not my clients. So anytime I can help somebody, I certainly will.
So how did you grow to be like that, to know that there's no lack, or just to be willing to share and be that, it's gracious, because you got a lot of people that wouldn't have done it or didn't do it, even for you. So
Right. For me, it's funny because everybody says everything, their background is always church. It was church. Well, it was faith, I will say. Okay. I grew up in church. I grew up being able to be exposed to different things, seeing things, and my parents never were like, oh no, you can't do that because of X, Y, and Z. Mm-hmm. We tried different things. We went different places, and they let us explore.
Okay.
If I wanted to do something, they would figure out how to do it. I've been prior to real estate, I was in sales for 20 plus years.
Okay.
Which is completely different than probably most of the people in my family's background. And with that being said, they never were like, what are you doing? When I graduated from college, I had the opportunity, I was interviewing. My degree is in automotive marketing management. So I had job offers with Ford, Chrysler, Toyota, and I'm forgetting somewhere else. Anyhow, both of my parents have now retired from Ford. Majority of my family worked at the big three. I'm originally from Michigan, so most of them worked from the big three. So everybody knew I was going for Chrysler, somewhere everybody was. And I was like, no, I'm going to Toyota. It's in California. I've never been to California. I'm like, that sounds like fun. And they really, really what it was, they also had a management training program that was mapped out, where the big three had hey, you're gonna be on this list, and when somebody retires or does or taps you on the shoulder, then you'll have a child. Otherwise, you're just gonna be
You
in this
just gonna
training
be
program.
there.
And I'm like, well, what does that
Mhm.
mean? So that was a running joke. I think that was probably the first time where I seen them kind of side eye me, like, is she serious? Is she really about to do this? And so my mom and my aunt were like, nah, like, we told her. So I was like, okay, mom, they called. The people said that my movers are coming. She was like, I said, yep, they said movers are coming on this date. So they're gonna move all my stuff to California, and then I start in January. And she was like, but you don't finish school until May. I was like, yeah, talk to everybody. I'm gonna do my last 2 classes in correspondence, and I'm good. And I had to take an accelerated class over that Christmas break.
Wow.
So I did that, and I finished up my classes, and I was done. I came back in May to walk and take my exams for the classes that I took during correspondence. And I was gone.
And you were gone.
And I was gone. And I've never returned. Other to visit. I've never lived there again.
I know they said, well, thank you for coming home every now and again.
Yeah. So yeah, I still now it's much closer because I was in California for a couple years. I got relocated to Illinois, and I've been in Illinois ever since. So now I'm only about 4.5, 5 hours from my parents and sisters. So I can make that drive in my sleep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So where are you in the birth order?
I'm the oldest.
Yeah,
I am the oldest. So yeah, so I always laugh because I'm like, what it's very true that after the first child, everything that was so taboo and they didn't want you to do, nobody really cares when it gets to the second child. It's like, yeah. So it was look out for your sister. So, and my sister's very relaxed. So we're 3.5 years apart.
Okay.
So when when we would drop us off at school, different things, I had to make sure that she got to her classroom. I had to make sure that she did it. Like I would get up and make our lunches, and I would make sure that we would do this. We used to laugh because in the summer we had a summer camp where we lived, and we could walk or ride our bikes to the summer camp. And I would get up and be like, okay, the night before, are you going? No, I'm not going to go. And I get up, get ready to go. And she'd be like, wait, I want to go. And I'm like, well, why didn't you get up one time? No, you can't leave your little sister. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's holding me back. I'm going to be late. So I used to be so mad because she was like my shadow.
Yeah.
So I was always responsible for her. Hence that I don't mind taking leadership roles and being responsible for other people.
Well, I find that whole birth order thing interesting because I'm an only child. And most people say that I don't act like an only child.
I was just going to say, you never gave me only child vibes, ever.
I don't, because I had a mom who was, my mother was the epitome. We talk about grace. She made sure everybody was okay in her family. She kept all the family together. If somebody needed something, she was there. And my dad was just a little bit different. He'd be like, let folks figure stuff out, But in raising me, he didn't believe in gender roles, right? So it wasn't just things in the house. I had to shovel snow. I had to break leaves. He taught me how to barbecue. I could change oil. I could change a tire. Now I remember when Fix-A-Flat came out, and I got me a couple of kids with Fix-A-Flat because that's a little rough. But my point is, I feel like I was well-rounded, and because I was the only child, they were definitely not gonna ever just leave me with anybody. So I found myself in spaces, right, with a lot of adults. So I was this little adult from an early age. I remember negotiating my bedtime at 8 years old, saying, hey, I'm missing some things on TV. I hear people talking about it. But I always felt like I had a voice. My father always told me to advocate for myself. He didn't say it in that way. He said, always speak up for yourself. Your voice matters too. And for a little girl, that gives you so much confidence, right?
Definitely.
And so I've always had that. I've had that support and love. So me being direct or saying things where people may think that I'm mean or aggressive or angry, it's just me being able to advocate for myself and others. And
yes,
I don't have a problem with that either.
No, neither do I. And that's a really good point, because I didn't realize being direct was not like a normal thing until I left my household. Because similar to you, like I said, it's just me and my sister. However, my dad was like, yeah, it doesn't really matter. Like, he's very direct. And I have a lot of my dad's personality. I have a good mix of my mom and my dad, but as far as directness, it's definitely my
That's where
dad.
it comes from. Yeah.
So when we're talking, and I would have friends who would be like, "Oh my God, like, why would you just say that?" Or why did he just? And I'm like, "What? Like, what are you talking about?" It doesn't phase me. Our running joke with my sister and I now is we're surprised we don't have low self esteem because my dad just like, even now I'll be like, "Well, I was thinking blah blah blah." And he'll just be like, "Well, that sounds dumb." I'll be like,
Girl, if
"But
that was
why?"
not my father, he
Yeah,
would
so
tell you in a minute that
it's
is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
yeah, like that don't even make sense. Or I'll say something about, I'm going somewhere with somebody and they'll be like, well, I don't know about them because I don't think they. I'm like, okay, then. Like, and I have to like prepare people because he might say anything.
Yeah.
And mean it.
And
so
mean it.
and mean it.
Exactly.
He's not taking it back. He's a former Marine.
Okay.
So
All right, say no
it's
more.
very direct to the point, and that's just how we roll. So yes, I've been in spaces where it's been mostly male dominant spaces. And it's funny because that never fazed me.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it surprised people because I'm pretty low key. Like, I understand and I can get things done, but I don't necessarily need you to know that I can understand and get things done. I'm always back in the cut.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes people take that as I may not either understand or that I'm quiet or meek or anything like that. And that is so far from the case.
Right. Or that you kind of standoffish.
Yes.
And not really a team player.
Correct.
That's the other part.
That is very true. I will say that my circle is small, but the people that are in my circle know that 110% I got them with everything that I got.
Yeah.
But I also don't entertain a lot of foolishness. So if you like, I'm like, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't. I can't.
Yeah, I know. And that's what that's what I love about you, because I'm the same way. I don't have time for you to figure out your little mental issues or whatever.
Yeah.
I just look, we got something to do. We need to do it, get it done, and keep it pushing.
Yes.
And me too. I was in I wanted to be a hairdresser.
Really?
Yes.
I never knew that.
And my father was like, "Are you out of your mind? You are not gonna be no hairdresser." Now they tell me computers are the things to do now, and you gonna go get you a degree in them damn computers. So again, daddy's girl doing all of that. That's kind of where I went. So again, that was a white male dominated space, right? So, but I had the confidence to figure things out. I didn't have a problem with it, right? Experienced a lot of different things in the late 80s. But I worked through it. Because when you grow up with a dad like that says, and you don't let them see you cry.
Right.
I know you had to have that.
Yes.
You don't let nobody take advantage of you.
Yes. So what is that about? Like, what are you crying for?
What are you crying for?
Like, well, because it's like, none of that. None of that.
So with us being the way we are, who we are, right? Having those strong, dominant fathers and really strong mothers loving us through, right? Let's talk about the word grace. What does that mean to you? And
so I will say over the years it's meant different things.
Okay.
Depending on the different phases in my life. So I will say grace is knowing that you are enough. And then sometimes grace is knowing that you can't be all things at the same time.
Okay.
Wow. Because there are some things that I can do extremely well, but maybe not in this season of my life. My kids are 13 months apart.
Okay.
So I didn't realize. So when Kennedy was born Christmas Eve. Bryce's birthday is November 27th. So literally, he was just starting to walk, and she was born. So I had two little ones for the longest time. We used to
Mm.
celebrate small milestones, like, oh, everybody can get out the car. Like, oh, I don't need a double stroller anymore. Like, everybody can tie this. Like, so, no more Pampers, like whatever, small things. But I didn't realize in the middle of doing that, because my kids, we would get up, they had a schedule. I was, and I think for the first, I want to say almost year after Kennedy, yeah, I was home with them for about 3 years because they were so small. There's nothing else really to do. Like, my family was further away. But we got up, they got dressed, we had a schedule. We would go to the library, we would go to the stack. And it was funny because I don't know if you know it, at Target, remember, I don't know if they still have it or not. Target used to have the Pizza Hut there.
They sure do.
So I would go shopping at Target. I'd have the kids, and one day they were with T, and they were like, "We want to go to the pizza place," and they were like, he was like, "What are you talking about?" And it was like, "The pizza place." He was like, "That is Target. That is not the pizza." And I was like, "Oh, because they be in the basket, and when I'm shopping, I get them a little pizza, and they eat the pizza one, and so they think Target's the pizza place." But it was small things like that that allow me to still move around, because I'm always on the go. It still allowed me to move and do things that I like to do in a way that I like to do, but still do it at a different rate with the smaller kids and still involve them. So that looked really different than what I had done before, when it was just me and I was, here, there, everywhere. And like now that they're older, they are more self-sufficient. So I am moving with a little bit different. So I am able to encompass and do more things. But I think it's just a time. You just got to know that it's going to be different times and different seasons. You can do other things. And I appreciate the friend circle that I had, because I wasn't always available. Like, no, I can't go to wherever on Tuesday night because I got the kids or whatever else. Nobody ever was like, "Oh, that sucks." When I could, I did. When they checked in on me, we were good.
So you gave yourself grace.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I was okay with that.
Yeah, you were okay with that. Grace for me is, I'm learning it now. And some folk may say I still don't have it.
I don't think you ever have it 100%.
But growing up, and like we talked about being in these male dominant spaces, you always have to fight, right?
Definitely.
You gotta, even though you know your craft, you're always fighting. You wake up, you're fighting to get this promotion. You're fighting to prove yourself. So I definitely think in my early years, especially in my career, I definitely didn't have the grace. I'm gonna get you told. I know what I'm doing. If I got to prove it 3-4 times, I will. And I was no nonsense, right? So really just trying to understand my path and where I was trying to get to. As I had children, I kind of understood things a little bit better, right? Maneuvering, having my kids are 5 years apart, so it was a little bit different. I got time to acclimate to the one, and then here came the other one. So, but my hardest lesson, I think, has been giving myself grace. It's because I think I always have to do things and do it well.
Yes. And I will, yes.
And I'm learning that no, you don't always, and always be the strong one. I'm kind of the one in my circle that everybody comes to, and that's okay. I love it. I love that role. But sometimes I just need to give myself grace.
Do you find that sometimes your friend circle or the people that are close to you will point out things that you didn't notice? Meaning, you might be being hard on yourself about something or thinking you could have done better or done more. And then they're like, hold on, pop the brakes. Let me just celebrate what you did right here now, because you're in it, so you don't really give yourself that grace because you're just moving.
To see.
Yeah.
You don't get to see. And my biggest cheer is my husband, George.
Yes.
Just in this, opening this brokerage, right? I'm constantly saying, "Oh Lord, I didn't do this." And he says, "Stop. You need to celebrate where you are. Things are not going to be perfect. You all are going to have growing pains, and it's okay. But the fact that within a year, you set out a plan with your partners, and you all have gotten here, is phenomenal."
Yes.
And
Yes.
sometimes that's hard to take in because we don't necessarily extend ourselves grace. So
That's very true. And I think when you're working in it, it's hard to see,
it's hard to see.
especially when you have those milestones that you want to hit. So you're trying to get to that milestone, but you also are accomplishing smaller things along the way to that bigger milestone. But like you said, you don't necessarily pause to say,
Yeah.
Job well done.
Yeah.
So,
And so I've met people recently who said they like to have experiences.
mm-hmm.
And I love that word.
Yes.
Just doing things with their family that they've never done before. I have a friend who said she took her mother like to Las Vegas or something because she had never been to Las Vegas, and just to have that experience, right?
Yes.
I think we have to do more of that and take time and pause and really spend quality time with the people we love.
And I think that is one of the things for me, entrepreneurship is not necessarily about the amount of money or the dollar amount that I can make, but it's about, for me, time freedom. Because like it goes so fast that I'm like, man, I want to be able to. We always have a running joke because my kids are at activities and we're always going somewhere else. Between my schedule, T's schedule, the kids' schedule, somebody somewhere. So we're trying to figure out what we need to do. But like family vacations, like where are we going? What are we gonna do? Or hey, this once a month we all gonna have family dinner, or we going bowling, we doing something. So we had those times to just connect and go forward. Um, and yeah, money is great, but then I also understand this is a time, it's not going to be long, but they're going to have their own things.
And they're going to be gone.
And they're going to be gone.
And not come back.
And not come back. And I'm okay with that. Visit. But I do want to, I want to have, like you said, those experiences.
Right.
And I want them to enjoy and do something different and try new things.
And try new things. Right?
Yeah.
We have to be intentional and purposeful.
Yes.
And being an entrepreneur too does not mean that we don't work hard, because I think you work harder than you do when you work for somebody else. But you have the freedom of arranging your schedule. And that's what you mean by time.
Yes.
It's not that you work less. I want to make that clear. It's not that you work less.
No, not at all.
It's just that you are able to manage your time that fits you. And then that's not something that you have to worry about working for somebody else.
Yes.
Being on their schedule, you on your own schedule.
Yes.
So if I need to work 4 a.m. to 8 a.m, because I did something, it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
And to that point, that's what kind of drew me away from corporate, because early on in my career, I started realizing, okay, I'm working to get moved up here, to get moved here, and then I'm looking at these people and I'm like, they're working here until like 11 o'clock at night, and then they're talking about their kids are in trouble and this is happening, and it's like, because you tired, your life is this job. But I'm like, I don't want that. Yeah. I don't want my life to be tied to this position or this company who at any given moment can say goodbye. Yeah.
So I will share this, and I don't even think we talked about this when I worked for Lucent Technologies. It was AT&T Bell Laboratory, and then Lucent Technologies. Had gotten a couple of promotions, right? And it's just what you said. I got 2 kids now, husband, just trying to work and maneuver it all. Alita, when I tell you for a month straight, I would drive to work, a gospel song on, crying all the way to work, because I was so stressed, because the demands were so great, right? And you feel like you can't let folk down.
Right.
You just got this promotion. You got to perform, right? And so, wow, that was one of the hardest times of my life. And I knew that a layoff was coming. And so I kind of talked about it with my parents first. Having the dad that we had, I was telling my dad, I said, Dad, I think I'm going to ask to be laid off. He said, that is the dumbest thing I have ever heard. You don't quit no job. Girl, do you know how much money you make? But I was miserable.
Yeah.
Absolutely miserable. I went to George. I said, George. He said, you are miserable. And you are no good to them kids or anybody else being this miserable.
Yes.
So I actually had a department head that I knew. And I went in and said, put my name on the list. And I'm telling you, my parents never knew that I did that
Mhm.
because I didn't want to disappoint them
Right,
still,
right.
right? So I couldn't tell them about it, but George knew.
Mhm.
And of course, I got a severance package and stuff
Mhm.
because I had been there 18 years.
Okay.
So, yeah, so I got a severance package and all of that. Christopher was just getting ready to go to middle school. There was a lot of challenges there because he was like, them kids crazy, I ain't getting on no bus. Oh, it was just a whole thing, right? So I'm just torn.
Mhm.
I'm just torn. And so I did that. And that was the most freeing experience a thing that I've ever done. And I did it for me.
Yeah.
And that's kind of when I started to learn what grace was.
Because it doesn't always look like people look at it and think that when you get to a certain point or you accumulate a certain amount of things, then okay, now I've made it. But that's never the case. Because I've been there where I'm like, oh, once I buy a house and then once I travel here and do that. And it's like, then you're like, okay, now I did that. Now what? Right. Now what? Now what? And there's nothing wrong with wanting more, but you can't just chase the more
and
without
spending
the
more
purpose.
money to get there.
Mhm.
The more money you make, the more money you will spend.
Yes.
So trying to keep up this lifestyle, right? Of what we equated that to. So I do. That was the first time that I've ever really said, "Wow, I just need to step back and figure this thing out." So that's my first story of grace for myself.
So how do you like, or I guess, how would you compare entrepreneurship to employee?
No competition. Being an entrepreneur, I work my tail off. I'm kind of a nerd in that I like to do a lot of research. You know, in real estate, I like the law, honey. I can quote some of the laws
She
to
does
you.
love a good law.
Yeah, I do. I'm telling you, no, you can't do that because XYZ per code ABC. So I do a lot of research and I do that, but I'm doing it for me, and it's purposeful. And I can see me helping people because I love helping people. And then being that employee, you're just on somebody else's time. You have to do things the way they want you to do it. Even if you can see a vision and know that it's not the best way to do it, well, I told you to do it this way.
Yes.
You know, and so when I was in project management as well, they had this old fancy system of how we had to do things. Girl, good old fashioned Excel spreadsheet. I work stuff. My projects was always on time and stuff, but I would get dinged because I didn't use the pretty new fancy software.
Right.
But my people, my team was working well, you know, but you didn't do it the way we needed you to do it here. So those types of things too are frustrating and demoralizing, right? Because now you don't appreciate me and what I do, even though my team is performing, because I don't do it this particular way.
Right.
Then you're trying to say what? I'm not good enough. So yeah, no. Entrepreneurship is hard, but I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. And you're right, money isn't everything.
I agree. And it's funny because you could be on either side of that and feel passionate about it. I had a conversation with somebody who was saying, similar to what you're saying, they didn't like where they worked. They've been there for years. They were like, but I've been here for years. So what else would I do? And I'm like, go work somewhere else. Because one thing I've been in sales, I was in sales for so long and with corporate that I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, I need to do this, this, and this. I'm gonna hit my targets and leave me alone. And that's kind of where I was able to roll. With sales, as long as you're doing what you need to be doing, people don't really bother you too much. They don't really care too much if you were not, doing everything that they say. So I don't have a problem with moving around, and I wasn't tied to a specific company. If it served me at that point, great. But once it didn't, I'm on to the next thing that does serve me well. But what I found is I was having a conversation, and she was saying, so how do you determine, we're talking about real estate, so you have no idea how much money you're going to make? And I said, no. Like, it's determined on how many houses I sell, how many clients I have, the time frame. This is what I need to do to get these people in and out. And she was like, that's scary to me. And I said, to me, it's scary that I show up at this place every single day, and no matter what I do, I'm getting the same amount of money. So you're telling me there's absolutely nothing I can do to get more money? They're like, no. And I'm like, That's crazy to me because I was like, I can't even fathom. Like, you can tell me I got a base salary, but I need to figure out how I'm gonna make my commission because
Right.
I work my numbers backwards, and I didn't realize that was crazy until probably shortly after we got married. After I got married, because I work like, so we want to go to Disney, and it's gonna be $14,000. Okay, so that means I need to do two of these by this date. We got to 14,000. And Tia's like, well, no, you have to budget them. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, there is no. Like, we just gotta figure out how to get the like. No, if I want to do it, we doing it.
Do it. That's
I
right.
just gotta figure out how
I'm gonna get this money
behind
to
it.
do it.
So
That's
if you're
right.
telling me my
That's right.
salary is gonna be this, then I really do have to live by that. And that what I think would push me into a deep depression because I'm just not good with functioning that way. That, and then I also don't like to carry things, meaning that if I get a car or something like, I'm trying to figure out, okay, how quickly can I pay it off, because I know the income is going to be up and down, and I just want to don't have to worry
Don't
about
have to
it.
worry about it. And
Yes.
girl, and now car notes are like 8 years or something crazy. You can finance a car. The car gonna break down before you pay it off. No, I don't think so. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I'm the same
it's a
way.
little different. It's a little different right now.
Yeah, I can't do that.
But yeah, people, I think I see, depending on what your mindset is, we're always going to need people to be entrepreneurs, and we're always going to need people to be employees. So there's no right or wrong, but I think you just need to be able to embrace whatever feels best for you.
What feels best for you.
Mhm.
And that's what this podcast is all about. You know, we want to hear from you out there too.
Yes.
Well, tell them where are we on?
We are on Facebook. You can find us at Grace Over Grit and Growth on Facebook. We have a YouTube channel, and we have Instagram. So if you have any questions, any topics that you would want us to discuss, please share them with us, and we'd be happy to look through and get that on our agenda.
So I think we're gonna do another episode of this. What
You think
You
so?
think we're gonna keep going?
I think we will.
So our next episode too is what we're gonna talk about is the tribe that's around you, right? Who do you have supporting you? Do you have people in your life that just when you see them, they just suck the life out of you? Or do you have people who really uplift you? Do you have people who tell you the truth about you? And then how does grace work in that? And when we do that episode, I am going to share a story about my husband and a friend of his. This is about 30 years ago. And when I come back and tell that story, you tell me if you think I should have given her grace. So, okay.
Do I know this person?
No.
Okay. Just wondering.
She may not still be living. No, I'm just joking. So
we said 30 years. I think statute of limitations didn't run out. You're good.
I'm good. I'm good. Okay. So,
yes.
I think you got a good kind of feel of who we are, how we came up, our upbringing, and we look forward to seeing you in our next episode.
Yep. Tune in. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care.